Can we please talk about UFC 272 coming our way on Saturday? UFC numbered pay-per-view. Joe Rogan is apparently going to be back. He's going to be in that broadcast booth. That whole thing's going to blown over. It's going to be wonderful. Got a hell of a headline fight. Real bad blood there. Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. There is some legit beef going on there. However made up the whole Colby Covington persona is, because I think we all know that it's a little bit kind of staged. We all kind of know that. I think the tension and the beef is kind of real. Or maybe I'm just a mark. Maybe I'm a complete mark. But in any event, this is the Burt Locker fights in 15. Effectively, if you're new to this, what I do is I go through and take a look at some fights where I think there is at least some value on some of the odds, and then I put down some truly terrible bets. I mean, I am batting a 0 so far this year. That's how bad my bets are. So basically, if you bet the opposite of what I do, you'll probably do okay. But I always bet for fun. I keep those stakes low. I keep those odds long. It's more like an MMA scratch card, if you will. It's kind of like, you know, just putting a quid down on a real long shot, and it's like playing a scratch card, but you get to watch some people punch each other in the face for money. How does that sound? Right, let's get cracking with some of these picks then. So, I'm going to start off in the welterweight division. One of my personal favourites is back this weekend, Mr Jalin Turner, the tarantula. Now, I'm a big fan of this dude. He's a real problem kind of frame-wise for 170 pounds for that division, because goddamn, he is 6'3". He's 6'3", and he's big. I think he's probably going to go up a weight class at some point in his career, but he's still fairly young. Now, for me, it's that Jalin Turner, he uses his reach very well. Like, you saw him against, I can't remember what the guy's name is, his last opponent. Kind of looks like a Native American kind of guy. Brock Weaver. Sorry, yeah. It's in there somewhere, guys. It's all in there somewhere, rattling around. Brock Weaver. Yeah, he used his reach really well, and then forced him to kind of take a chance, and then caught him in that submission. He's got very slick submissions, very good chokes, does Jalin Turner. And he's also very good on the feet, very good at keeping his range, and as I said, using his reach to his advantage. Now, Jamie Mullarkey, his opponent, he's also no slouch. Honestly, he's really good himself, but you know, he does have knockout losses on his record, as they both do, actually, so it's not like either of them can't be finished, although only one of them has had a knockout loss in the UFC, which is actually Jalin Turner when he lost to Vicente Luque. So there's no real shame in being knocked out by Vicente Luque. He's a goddamn beast, isn't he? So I like Jalin Turner in this one, purely just because I just feel like he's going to have the reach, he's going to use it effectively. I think Jamie Mullarkey is going to get overwhelmed slightly on the feet. It may then go to a scramble on the ground, and honestly, it's a kind of pick your poison, because Jalin Turner, 11 wins, all finishes, right? No, again, I'm not discounting Mullarkey here. Mullarkey's got 14 wins and 13 finishes, but I just feel like the physical attributes and just the way he's been on a real upward trend, he looks better and better each time. I think Jalin Turner is going to look even better than we saw him last time, and I don't see any reason to think he won't get the finish here as well. Now, you are getting 2.2 on the finish, which is just better than even money, which is just good enough to add to my bet slip for my accumulator. So yeah, 2.20 on the finish for Jalin Turner, double chance, adding that to the bet slip. Then we've got Sergey Spivak against Greg Hardy, the polar bear against Greg Hardy. I don't know what is, oh wait, the Prince of War, isn't it? That's right, that's what his nickname is. See, I told you, look, it's all in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere. These random bits of knowledge just come floating around, and sometimes they surface, sometimes they don't. But yeah, so the polar bear versus the Prince of War, £265. This one should be pretty fun, in all fairness, because look, both of them have patchy records. Neither of them are exactly lighting the world on fire. 7-4 for Hardy, 13-3 for Spivak. Now, both of them, they do hit hard. I would say that Hardy probably has the edge in power, though. In pure kind of just one hit power, I think Hardy might have the edge. Hardy's got some physical attributes, man. I would, however, say that Sergey Spivak is a little bit more well-rounded. He's got 6 submissions on his record. Maybe he takes the route of what Tybura did to Greg Hardy. Tybura basically got Greg Hardy on the ground, and it was like a turtle on his back. He really had no way of getting back. Now, has Greg Hardy addressed those issues? Has he been working more on that? You've got to probably think so. But I don't think the best route to victory for Spivak here is the Tai Tuivasa style fight that he went into with Hardy. Because whilst Hardy lost to Tai Tuivasa, let's be fair here, he cracked Tuivasa real nice. Tuivasa got hit really, really hard and almost went down himself. And then, Hardy went in for the kill and got clocked himself. That fight, even if they fought again, it would be a 50-50 because of that style of fight. I don't think going in there and just trading shots with Greg Hardy is the most effective way to try and get the win. Now, Sergey Spivak, right? He's not a dumb fighter. He's gonna know that the best route to victory is gonna be taking him down. I think they'll probably strike for a little bit, but I think he'll only strike for long enough to really identify where that takedown is. And when he gets that takedown, he's going to go to work. And I think he either gets the TKO or the submission. I think he gets the finish here, because I think it's going to look a lot more like the Tybura versus Greg Hardy fight than the Tuivasa versus Greg Hardy fight. I think that this one it's going to be a relatively easy night of work for Spivak because he is just far more well-rounded. He just is. Now, don't get me wrong. There's every chance that Greg Hardy knocks his head off if he allows him to stand with him for too long. I don't think Spivak's going to do that. He's a little bit more cerebral than that. And I think he is going to get a takedown at some point, be it through a scramble or just a shot, and he's going to get the top position. And once he gets there, the thing is, once he gets to the ground, when Tybura took Hardy down, it just looked like he had absolutely nothing for him. I think we're going to see pretty much the same thing here. So the double chance for the TKO or the submission, it's really a toss-up for me on this one. So double chance on Spivak, you're getting even money on that. That is +2. I'm banging that on the bet slip. Happy days. Then we have got Kevin Holland making his welterweight debut against Alex Oliveira. Now, I think Holland, he's made the right move here, cutting down a weight class, because I think it'll make him take this a little bit more seriously. He has similar attributes, actually, to Jalin Turner when he goes down to welterweight, which is good. He's 6'3", he's got a hell of a reach, and as long as he uses his reach correctly and doesn't get into a weird firefight with Oliveira, honestly, I think he's going to be just fine here, because whilst Holland, look, he's had a few tough losses. When you look at his recent record, obviously he had the no contest headbutt against Dorcas, but then he had the 2 losses to Vittori and to Brunson. But before that, he was on the best win streak of the year, I think. I think he tied for the most wins in a calendar year when he knocked Ronaldo Souza's head off. From the ground as well, literally like from his knees, still managed to knock his head off. Brilliant. Go back and watch that fight. That was good. But Holland, he's shown a real weakness to the wrestling. But I would say the UFC are probably throwing him a bit of a bone here in Alex Oliveira, because Alex Oliveira is hardly... Alex Oliveira is really good. Don't get me wrong. I do not hate Alex Oliveira at all. He's an exciting fighter. He's very solid in every aspect of the game. However, I wouldn't say he's like this stud wrestler who's going to cause Kevin Holland too many problems. And I don't think that Alex Oliveira is going to go shooting in for takedowns. I mean, maybe he would be wise to do so, because that seems to be the only real glaring weakness that Kevin Holland has. Well, not the only weakness, but it seems like a really big one that got exploited by Marvin Vittori and Derek Brunson, respectively. So I would say that Kevin Holland is the favourite in this one, and I do think very rightly so, because I think the UFC, as I said, they're throwing him a bit of a bone here. I like the knockout for Holland. I don't think he's going to get the submission unless he stuns Cowboy and then grabs a neck. Don't get me wrong, Kevin Holland has got submissions, but he likes knocking people out, and that's the difference. And I think we'll see this play out on the feet, predominantly. So I don't think that Cowboy is the guy that's going to be shooting for takedowns all over the place and trying to drag him down to the floor. I think he's going to stand with Holland. And with Holland having the reach, he's going to be the bigger guy because he's cutting down now. And hopefully he's taking this a little bit more seriously. The weight cutting will help with that. It's why Michael Bisping started cutting weight. Because, you know, when he fought Rashad Evans, he realised that Rashad Evans was punishing himself, just sitting in saunas, just cutting all that weight, whilst Michael Bisping was sitting there eating a Chinese because he has no problem making 205. Do you know what I mean? And then there was so it's almost a mindset thing. When he started cutting to middleweight, he said it really helped him really take it seriously, take the training seriously. And I think it could be a similar thing for Kevin Holland here, because that is one problem that he had. Obviously, when he fought Brunson, he was just talking to Khabib Nurmagomedov half the time, who was sitting at ringside. And funny, yes, but it's kind of after a little while, it's like, yeah, okay, you've already conceded that you've lost this fight then. You're not taking this seriously at all. And I think he does need to take it just a little bit more seriously, because he has the tools to get it done. He has the tools to be a real problem at 170 pounds. Make no mistake about that. And I think we see the first kind of glimpses of this weekend when he fights Oliveira. I'm taking the knockout, 2.20, just better than even money, banging that on the bet slip. And then you've got Edson Barboza against Bryce Mitchell. Now, Bryce Mitchell is undefeated, 14-0. He has lost, right, but that was on Tough, and it counts as like an exhibition bout, so it doesn't actually count. On the UFC website, they bill him as 14-1, but he's not actually. Officially, he's 14-0 because that was an exhibition, so I'll give him that. Bryce Mitchell is an absolute stud, man. Like, the level of his submissions are ridiculous, because to be able to get the twister, it's not like, you know, a striker can like grab like a submission here and there because they stun a fighter and like get the back and they grab the choke. You know, you'll see a lot of, you know, rear naked chokes. You'll see a lot of, you know, even a lot of arm bars, but twisters, you don't see many of those. I think it was Korean Zombie that did the first one, either in the WEC or it might have been in the UFC. But either way, Korean Zombie managed to get a twister, but you just don't see very many of them. And Bryce Mitchell got Charles Rosa in a twister position several times. He didn't actually get it, but he was going for it, like, all the time, and he nearly had it. And Charles Rosa is a very good grappler in his own right. So to get those positions on a grappler who is as good as Charles Rosa, that was very, very impressive. So we know that Bryce Mitchell, his grappling it's on another planet. It is really, really great. However, I don't think he's not exactly like a stud wrestler who's going to be like, he can get the fight to the ground though, but I think that in order to do that, unfortunately, he's going to have to step into Edson Barboza's range. Now, Edson Barboza, he's been around a long time. He's fought people that have tried to take him down over and over again. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. You have to be a pretty high level offensive wrestler to be able to get Edson Barboza to the ground. And I think actually you need to be able to mix in the strikes to be able to kind of distract Barboza to the point where you can take him down to the ground. If this goes to the ground, I think Bryce Mitchell's going to have a nice, easy route to a submission, but in order to do that, he has to step into Barboza's range. I think that's a problem. Barboza has a 5-inch reach advantage here, and he has a slight reach advantage with the legs as well. Bryce Mitchell is not exactly known for his kicks, so I don't think that the leg reach being basically even is in Bryce Mitchell's favour. Barboza looks like a savage at featherweight, honestly. Like, he's 2-2, but that's deceptive. The fight with Dan Ige was razor close, and actually I kind of had Barboza winning that. I wouldn't complain either way, but let's not pretend that was like that was him getting dominated, because it wasn't. It was a very close fight, and one that you could have arguably given him. The judges didn't on that night, and you have to take that. But then you've got, you know, he beat Shane Burgos, and who else did he beat? He beat somebody else as well. I forget. But then he lost to Giga Chikadze. But Giga Chikadze hit him with that Giga kick, man. And it was just like, Giga Chikadze just seemed like a quicker version of him who's you know, like in the kickboxing range. And he just looked really, really great. So, fair play to Giga Chikadze. But I think this is you know, Barboza's coming in as an underdog here because Bryce Mitchell is undefeated, and people are just assuming he's going to have an easy job taking Barboza down. But you've got to remember that Barboza, he's a big lump for 145. He is just he's built like, you see chimpanzees, it's like they're made out of steel. Right? You look at him at featherweight, it's like he's made out of pure metal, and he's big. He's about as big as a featherweight could possibly be. He's huge. And he's so quick as well, and his striking is so good. I mean, they say, obviously, right, Bryce Mitchell, when it comes to grappling, there are levels, and Bryce Mitchell's super high. But you've also got to remember there are levels to striking. And Edson Barboza is about as high as it gets when it comes to striking. And it's not like he's never faced like people that have tried to grapple him before. And I don't think Bryce Mitchell is exactly this power double kind of like wrestler who's going to like have an easy time getting him to the ground. He may well get Barboza to the ground, in which case, it's going to be a tough night for Barboza. But I don't think it's going to be easy to get Barboza to the ground. And if you end up staying in kicking range and striking range for too long with Barboza whilst you're trying to figure out how to get in on those legs and how to get a takedown, especially if you're shooting those takedowns kind of naked, if you're shooting those takedowns without setting up strikes, if you're predictable with lowering that head, get ready for a knee to the mush, because Barboza's got those weapons. He has those weapons, and that is why I'm taking Barboza the double chance here, because the odds are quite short on the knockout for Barboza. For me, there's no real chance in limiting yourself to just that one, because it could go to a decision. It is only a 3-rounder, so I'm taking the double chance on the knockout or decision for Edson Barboza. That is 2.38. That is going on to the bet slip. And then we have the main event, Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal, 170 pounds. Well, this one, I love it. I love it as a fight, because it's just, the bad blood is real. Because look, let's face it, we all know that the Colby Covington shtick, it is kind of fake. Now, I love the Colby Covington angle, by the way. I love the character kind of thing, because I mean, some people are hating on it, but you can't argue with the results. Bottom line is, the UFC, before he fought Damian Maia, the UFC said to him, win or lose, we are cutting you. We just don't think that you're a marketable guy, and we are cutting you, right? So he then went on that rant, that tirade about Brazilians being filthy animals and all that, and he created this Colby Covington character. And since then, he's just gone from strength to strength to strength. Just he knows how to play the game. He's playing the game very well. And for all intents and purposes, I think that he's done the right thing, because what was the alternative? To not do that and get cut and then just keep fighting, in Bellator or whatever. He's absolutely done the right thing, and you can't hate on him for that. But as fake as the Colby Covington persona is, I do think that the beef between him and Masvidal is very real, because Masvidal is about as real as it gets. It's why they did the BMF thing between him and Nate Diaz, because they're both. The reason the BMF thing shouldn't even be on the line, because people have thrown that out there, is because, look, this isn't a battle of two BMFs. It's like, at the end of the day, Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz they're both bad motherfuckers. And the reason for that is because they will throw down, either one of them, without thinking about it. Whether they're a professional fighter or they lose their fight license or not, they are ready to throw down any time. And they've both shown it. Outside of the octagon, in the octagon, doesn't matter, right? When Leon Edwards approached Jorge Masvidal just threw a combo at him. He didn't give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? That is what makes a BMF. Colby Covington is not that guy. Colby Covington is an excellent fighter. He's an excellent mixed martial artist, but he's not that guy who will throw down kind of any time. Do you know what I mean? Like, he showed that when he got hit with that boomerang by Fabricio Verdum. But by all accounts, I mean, Dan Hardy said that he was there and he watched it, and it basically, Colby Covington was more or less saying that he was going to get, his lawyers involved and all that kind of shit. And it's like, Masvidal would never do that. Nate Diaz would never do that. And that's why I don't think they should put that BMF belt on the line. As fake and meaningless as that belt is anyway, I loved it because I think it's like a fun gimmick. But like, you've got to have two guys in there that are as real as it gets. And honestly, Colby Covington, there's not the character, it's not real. Like, the only thing that's real about him is his skill level. His skill level is legit. He is so good. He could pose so many problems for Jorge Masvidal. But you've also got to understand that they both know each other as well. They know each other very well. And you've got to wonder how that plays in, because you've got to remember that, like, Masvidal, he researches his fighters. He is an absolute savage, but he's a calculated savage. Because remember when he knocked out Ben Askren, like, he knew where Ben Askren's head was going to be. He knew that he lowers his head to that point every time. He'd done his research, right? And that's someone that isn't from one of his camps. These guys, they shared a house. They train together every day. You don't think that he's got some tricks up his sleeve for tells, for things that Colby does, that he knows that he can exploit. Masvidal is coming in as quite a heavy underdog here, and maybe rightly so, but maybe not. I think this fight is way more of a toss-up than people think it is, because as a striker, Masvidal is going to be better. Now, I know that people will say, well, yeah, but Usman knocked him out and didn't knock out Covington. Doesn't matter. MMA math doesn't work like that. In terms of options and striking and technique, Masvidal is going to be better than Colby. Is Colby going to have a better gas tank, and will he be able to throw more, and will he maybe even be slightly faster? He might be. He might be able to just put that volume on him and just tire Masvidal out, and then mix in the takedowns and really gas Masvidal out. That could be the main problem for Masvidal. If Colby manages to dictate a pace that Masvidal cannot keep up with, and that's a very real possibility. It is, I won't lie. But for me, I like Masvidal's chances of getting the knockout in this one, purely because he does know he does know Colby. They've trained together like umpteen times, and for Masvidal, this is just another fight. It's very difficult to fight somebody like Masvidal, because you look at how many fights he's had. He's had like what, nearly 40 fights in the UFC alone, and or in the octagon, or mixed martial arts rather. But then you've got to remember that he was fighting in backyards with Kimbo Slice on YouTube back in the day. So you've got to wonder, how many fights has he been in, like inside the cage and outside of the cage? You're probably looking at thousands plus. You know, how do you phase a guy that has had 1,000 fights? How do you phase that guy? And that's the problem. Like, Jorge is going to be coming in angry. He wants to settle a score, and things anger doesn't affect him like it does other fighters. It doesn't make him worse, it makes him better. When he came in against Darren Till and he thought he was being overlooked, he was like, yeah, we'll see. And he harbours that resentment. And he'll harbour that resentment all the way into that left hook that he'll crack somebody with and put them out with, and he'll baptise them. He'll put them to sleep. And that's what I think is going to happen here. Honestly, I think that over 5 rounds, Masvidal is going to be... I think he's going to come in looking better than we think. I really do. I think that power is going to be on Masvidal's side. I don't think Colby Covington's got the punching power to necessarily put Masvidal out. Because when you look at like that shot that Usman landed was just ridiculous. It was just a perfect shot, and you can't. And people get caught. You're going to get caught sooner or later in this game, right? I'm sure that that's not affecting Masvidal, because people are speculating on that. Oh, how's it? Last time he was in there, he got knocked unconscious. It's like, look, that man has had so many fights in his lifetime. I bet it doesn't faze him. It doesn't faze him at all, and he's going to come in there. I think he's going to be able to stop, because he's better at stopping takedowns than you think. And I think that if Covington stands with him for too long, he's going to pay a price. And I like the knockout. I'm going for the knockout. This is where I'm taking a big risk. Don't get me wrong. This is a huge risk. I don't call them terrible bets for nothing, right? If you want a safe bet on Colby Covington by decision. That would be the safest bet you could probably make, because that's probably what's going to happen. But me, the romantic in me, wants to see... I can't pick against Masvidal. I like the guy too much. He's just awesome. Don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Colby, but Jorge Masvidal, there is just something about him. And the fact he can deliver those spectacular shots and put people to sleep makes me think he's got one more spectacular shot in him at least. And I think this one's coming this weekend. I am taking Masvidal, game bred, knockout, at +5, you're getting 4-1 on that. That really is terrible. I'm throwing that on the accumulator. So the overall accumulator that we've got Jalin Turner to get the double chance. That's any finish. And then you've got Sergey Spivak, double chance. any finish. Now you've got Kevin Holland to get the knockout, Edson Barboza, double chance, knockout or decision, and then you've got Jorge Masvidal, the bet that's going to crumble the house down. +5 to get the knockout. Put that together on the accumulator. That is 114.95 to 1. That is an absolutely terrible bet. I've overrun by about 10 minutes, but I don't care. This is a great card, and there are some good fights to break down, and I've really enjoyed talking about it. Let me know who you're betting on in the comments, because I want to know. I love discussing this stuff. So if you're watching this on the Thursday, thank you for subscribing to the Patreon, and like for everybody, if you could please, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But until Tuesday or Wednesday, when I recap how terrible these bets have turned out, keep those odds long and those bets terrible.